maybe you'll like that track. I don't know. I don't know if it's like a good Bad Bunny song or a bad Bunny song. I have no idea. I can't tell this apart.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason and Joe here with a new album review. We're talking about the new Gorillaz record called Cracker Island. Came out on Friday. I, of course, know all of the big Gorillaz hits. Never really dove into their albums too much. I think I probably listened to Plastic Beach back when that came out, but that's probably about it. How about you?
I own the first Gorillaz record because I loved Clint Eastwood, of course. I think everybody did when that came out. And I got the album, and not quite what I expected. But I've always liked the Gorillaz singles. Their albums, mm, I've listened to some. I've ignored others. They're not like a must-listen band for me. Usually, the singles are what I'm here for. So I'm I'm mostly familiar with their discography, but the last couple I was looking, I didn't even realize this was their eighth album, and I was looking, I was like, what the hell is this? So I've definitely missed the last couple, but I am, yeah, 50-50 familiar with the Gorillaz.
So this new one is produced by Greg Kurstin, big name producer, does a lot of pop stuff. He's worked with Foo Fighters. For me, I don't know. The first time I listened to it, I was pretty low on it. I initially only was going 2.5 because there's some tracks near the end that I really, really did not like. The track with Bad Bunny I thought was just bad and out of place. I don't think it fits the record at all. It comes out of nowhere. It's one of those songs where like you're listening through a record and then you're all of a sudden like, did Apple Music all of a sudden start playing the next record, or did we switch to something else somehow? Just really feels not like the rest of the record. I think I think it's a pretty front-loaded record, and I think that's why I was so low on it initially. Those tracks near the end left a pretty bad taste in my mouth, and I was like, nah, not feeling it. But going back to it to take notes and stuff, I was feeling like, you know what, there's actually a lot of pretty good stuff near the front of the record. The title track with Thundercat, I think, is pretty good, catchy, groovy. The track with Stevie Nicks, I think, is good, but I think she feels really out of place. And I think that's the case with most of the guests here. I think, the track with her, it feels like her voice doesn't really fit. Her singing the line, "You'll be falling into the bass and drum," just not believable. Feels like she's shoehorned in. Then you've got the track with Kevin Parker from Tame Impala. I feel like he just completely overwhelms the track that he's on, makes it just feel like a Tame Impala song. You also have Booty Brown on that track, which is not necessary, I don't think. The track with Beck, I feel like he's underused. He's kind of just basically like backing vocals, and like, why is he even there? You got him there, you might as well use him, put him to better use. And of course, I already mentioned the Bad Bunny track is completely worthless. I don't know. So I think there's good material. It just doesn't work as an album for me. Front loaded stuff near the back doesn't fit in. All of the guests pretty much feel like forced. Like we have to have a bunch of guests in order to make this a big event or something. So it doesn't have much of an album feel. But like I said, I like the track with Thundercat. I think Oil's a decent tune, minus the fact that Stevie feels a little out of place. Silent Running, I think, is a pretty good track. Baby Queen, maybe my favorite track on the record. Really cool synths on that. A lot of vintage sounding synths all over the record. So yeah, I'm kind of torn on this one. There's some good stuff. I enjoyed it actually more than I thought I would, but there's also some really bad tracks, and I don't think it has any flow as an album. So I'm going 3 on it.
I mean, it's interesting because I've always said that the Gorillaz albums, none of them have any flow at all. They're all so all over the place. That's, when I bought the Gorillaz self-titled, the first one, and I was expecting a lot of Clint Eastwood type songs. And there's like one, I mean, maybe two with Del the Funky Homo Sapien. A lot of it's sort of like ambient and kind of weird soundscapes. There's some funky stuff, a little, disco influence on like 5/4. But I always feel like all their albums are so far just all these different things, and the experimental stuff I'm never into. So for this album, I actually think it's their best flowing, least sort of like take you out of it, because the sounds are all pretty similar. Greg Kurstin plays most of the instrumentals along with Damon Albarn, so you kind of have that same type of sound, that retro 80s, a lot of synths and the big drums and bass and everything. And even the guest stars, I guess they're just like locked into just having guest stars now because they did it on the first couple albums. Feel Good Inc. had De La Soul and Del Funky Homo Sapien and everything. So I guess they just are expected. And I think the guests work pretty well. Um, a lot of the time they kind of blend in the background. Cracker Island, you get the obvious Thundercat like backing vocals and bass line, but it still kind of feels like the rest of the album mixed with like a little bit of Thundercat, and it does have that like obvious Thundercatness that's sort of like, okay, this could have been on a Thundercat album very easily. Oil is a pretty good song. I think the melodies on this album are probably the best that the Gorillaz have done overall over a whole album. Stevie Nicks feels, unnecessary. Beck also another unnecessary one. But I like New Gold. That one sort of feels like the big guest star, kind of the way like Feel Good Inc. and Clint Eastwood sort of felt like the music, the style of the guest star. This feels like a Tame Impala. You got some rapping from Booty Brown. I think it works really well. I like Baby Queen and Tarantula. I like the Gorillaz only tracks. They all kind of have the same sort of flow and sound and like a nice melody. Nothing really experimental about them, but I think they sound really good. Some like M83, 80s retro stuff. And Tormenta, I don't like Bad Bunny. Just saying, it's pretty obvious, I think. Nobody on this channel likes him. And this one doesn't like take me out of the groove though. It feels like a Gorillaz cut because that's the kind of thing they do. They just throw in these big guest stars, and I don't mind his vocals as much as I don't like them on his own albums. He's kind of crooning at the beginning and it works. He does like the reggaeton rap stuff, and that doesn't work for me, but it's more just the fact that I don't like Bad Bunny. I don't think it's a bad cut necessarily. I just don't care for him. If you like Bad Bunny, maybe you'll like that track. I don't know. I don't know if it's like a good Bad Bunny song or a bad Bunny song. I have no idea. I can't tell this apart. But Skinny Ape's good. Possession Island, Beck's wasted. But I think as a whole album, this is my favorite Gorillaz album. It's short. There's not a lot of weird experimental stuff. I think the guest spots don't take away too much. They don't add too much, but I think is like actual Gorillaz, like the sound of the Gorillaz. This is the best they've done. So I'm going 4 stars. I kind of think it's pretty good. And I have a problem with Albarn ever since the Blur days. He got weird and experimental and Think Tank and all that other stuff. But I think his vocals on this album are really good. His guitar and everything is pretty good, and he just doesn't annoy me at all like he has been in the past couple decades. Like he's just there and being nice, and he's got that like melancholy kind of heartbreaking vocal that he works in really well, especially on what's the cut, um Baby Queen. I think his vocal line really well suited for that song. So I like it. I think it's 4 stars, and yeah, nice 37 minutes. Nothing weird. Very by the numbers, very paint by the numbers, but I think it's good.
I think during Blur Week, I kind of came to the realization that, you know what, I'm not much of a Damon Albarn fan. I didn't, by the end of that week, I was so tired of hearing him, and I was like, I am just like over this guy. But actually, he's not the problem here at all. I think everything he does on this record is pretty fine, vocally speaking. So he never bothered me. I thought he was, if not great, at least serviceable to the tracks. So most of the issues I had were with the guests and the sequencing and just a couple lame tracks near the end. So All right, let us know what you think of this record if you've heard it. Drop it down in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.